You already know that traditional security cameras are mostly reactive. You walk into a parking garage or an office building, you see that little glass dome on the ceiling, and you know the drill.
Right, you just assume it's recording.
Exactly. It's recording hours of empty space, mostly just archiving footage so that if, I don't know, a laptop goes missing, someone can rewind the tape tomorrow to see who took it.
Yeah, the old forensic model.
But if you've been paying attention to the physical security space lately, you know that paradigm is dead. We're now looking at the transition to active, AI-powered systems designed to prevent the crime before it even happens.
It is a massive structural shift. I mean, we are moving from a model of observation, looking at what already occurred, to real-time proactive intervention.
And that is the mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking exactly how video analytics is fundamentally changing theft and crime prevention. To do this, we're pulling insights from a heavy stack of technical documentation.
A very heavy stack today.
Seriously. We're looking at commercial security frameworks from Avigilon Alta and Safe and Sound Security, high-rise security protocols from Adactum Security, recent locksmith industry trend reports, and some really cool local integration case studies right here in Los Angeles.
And when you aggregate all that data, the big takeaway is how physical hardware, like the actual locks on the doors and advanced machine learning software, are no longer operating in silos. They're merging into a single, unified ecosystem.
Before we jump into the mechanics of how that ecosystem works, a huge thank you to our sponsor, West Point Locksmith. If you're in Los Angeles, they are your 5-star rated go-to team for fast, reliable, and professional service.
The best in LA.
Without a doubt. From emergency lockouts to smart locks, rekeying, and car key replacements, they are available 204/7 to keep your home, business, and vehicle secure. Give them a call at 310-295-4040.
And their work is actually a perfect example of this industry shift. They understand that installing a deadbolt today often means integrating it with a digital network.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start by defining what video analytics actually looks like in practice right now. Because it's easy to throw around a buzzword like AI, but what is the software actually doing to these high-definition feeds in real time?
At its core, video analytics relies on machine learning models that are trained on millions of hours of baseline spatial data. Traditional motion detection was, well, it was incredibly rudimentary.
Like a motion light on a driveway.
Right. A stray cat runs across a parking lot, or a tree branch blows in the wind, and the system triggers an alarm. That caused massive alert fatigue.
Because if everything is an emergency, nothing is.
Exactly. Security operators would just start ignoring the system because of the false positives. But modern AI analytics, like the protocols installed by Adactum Security in those Los Angeles high-rises, they don't just look for pixel changes. They use object classification.
Meaning the system actually knows what it's looking at. It categorizes the object.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is that the AI draws an invisible bounding box around an object and determines, okay, this is a vehicle, or this is a human, or this is an animal.
So it filters out the stray cats right out of the gate.
It filters out the noise, but it goes further than simple identification. It analyzes trajectory, velocity, and dwell time. That is how it detects unusual behavior or loitering. It establishes a baseline of normal activity for a specific environment and then flags deviations from that baseline.
I get the concept of a baseline, but, human behavior is chaotic. Does the system actually know the difference between an employee who's just pacing the hallway because they're on a stressful phone call and someone who's casing a secure server room to steal proprietary data?
It does, yeah. 2 contextual parameters. You can program the analytics to enforce specific rules for specific zones at specific times.
Give me an example of that.
Sure. So if an employee is pacing in the main lobby at 2 p.m., the system recognizes that as standard dwell time in a public zone. But if someone crosses a predefined virtual tripwire near a restricted IT closet at 3 a.m., the system immediately recognizes that as anomalous.
Because the context changed.
Exactly. It removes human fatigue from the equation. You're no longer relying on a person to stare at 20 monitors waiting for a split-second event.
Which brings up the CSI security documentation regarding their virtual guard perimeter system. They combine these AI streaming cameras with motion lighting. So the AI is constantly analyzing the perimeter, and it doesn't just quietly record a breach. It triggers an active response.
Yeah, it replaces the passive observer with an intelligent sentinel. When the software confirms a human presence in a restricted perimeter zone, it can instantly flood the area with light, which is step 1 of the deterrence escalation.
But spotting a thief and stopping a thief are 2 entirely different things. I get that the system spots an anomaly, But does it actually intervene, or is it just sending an alert to a guard who might be, like, on the other side of the building getting coffee?
That is where the integration with a central monitoring station becomes critical. Let's look at the data from Safe and Sound Security. They are reporting a 35 to 50% decrease in internal theft incidents in access-controlled environments utilizing these analytics.
Wait, a 50% decrease? Is that an ideal lab scenario or real-world application? And what happens to the other 50%? I imagine highly sophisticated operations might still find ways around it.
Well, that 50% figure represents the higher end of the spectrum, typically seen in highly controlled environments like specialized warehouses or restricted corporate floors where access is tightly regulated.
Where there's less public foot traffic.
Right. Retail environments, which have higher public foot traffic, might see numbers closer to that 35% mark. The reason those numbers are so substantial, though, is the speed of the intervention.
Break down that intervention timeline for me. Someone crosses the virtual tripwire. The AI flags it as a human in a restricted zone. What happens next?
The alert, along with a live video clip of the event, is routed instantly to a central monitoring station. This is where trained personnel take over.
Because the AI already filtered out the cats and the trees.
Exactly. The human operators are only looking at verified threats, and within seconds, those operators can issue live audiovisual deterrents. They can literally speak through two-way audio systems built into the cameras.
Okay, but does a booming voice actually stop a determined criminal? If someone has already broken a lock, are they really going to turn around just because a speaker tells them to?
You'd be surprised. When a live operator says, "You in the red jacket, step away from the loading dock, armed security's been dispatched," the psychological impact is massive.
It makes it personal.
Yes, it shatters the intruder's assumption of anonymity. They know they're not just being recorded for tomorrow, they're being actively managed in the present moment. In the majority of cases, that live intervention is enough to cause the intruder to flee before any property is stolen or damaged.
And if they don't flee,
Then the operators are already mobilizing local law enforcement with a verified crime in progress, which guarantees a much faster police response time.
that makes sense. It shifts the paradigm from post-incident investigation to pre-incident intervention. If you're managing a business, this technology actively protects your environment rather than just providing you with a high-definition video of your inventory leaving the building.
Exactly. But if we expand our view of what these systems can do, the analytics are not just hunting for bad actors. Modern surveillance has evolved into a comprehensive facility management tool.
So what does this all mean? We're not just looking for guys with crowbars anymore.
Not at all. When we review the Avigilon Alta capabilities and the MyShift biometric guides, it becomes clear that these networks are heavily utilized for workplace safety and compliance.
Walk me through that. How does an anti-theft camera double as a safety compliance tool?
It uses the exact same object classification and behavioral analysis, just tuned for different parameters. In an industrial setting or manufacturing floor, the AI can be trained to recognize personal protective equipment,
Oh, like hard hats.
hard hats, high-visibility vests, safety goggles. It can scan every person entering the factory floor to verify they're wearing the required gear.
So if a contractor walks onto a busy loading dock without a high-vis vest, the system immediately flags it as a safety violation.
Yes. It can instantly alert the floor manager via a smartphone notification. It can also be programmed for slip and fall detection.
Which is huge for liability.
Absolutely. If a worker collapses in a remote aisle of a warehouse and doesn't get back up, the system analyzes that rapid change in posture, recognizes the lack of subsequent movement, and alerts medical teams immediately.
The documentation also brings up occupancy tracking. I imagine that's vital for managing fire codes.
Extremely vital. The cameras at the entry and exit points keep a running tally of how many bodies are in the building at any given moment. If a venue is approaching its maximum legal capacity, the system alerts management to stop letting people in.
That's incredibly practical.
And the MyShift guides even discuss integrations for contact tracing and wellness management, which, became a massive priority for corporate campuses over the last few years.
Here's my hesitation with all of this, though. If the system is constantly counting bodies, tracking exactly who is wearing what, and analyzing every time someone trips and falls, how is this not a massive privacy violation? You're essentially turning an office building into a panopticon. How do organizations balance safety monitoring without violating employee privacy?
That is the essential tension of modern security. And it's a technical challenge that the industry has had to solve in order to deploy these systems legally. The architecture of these platforms is heavily dictated by strict regulatory frameworks.
Like what kind of frameworks?
We're talking about laws like the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, which dictates how personal data is collected and stored, and iPay, which enforces patient privacy in healthcare settings.
Right, but how does a camera comply with the CCPA? If it's recording a hospital hallway, it's inevitably going to capture sensitive information.
It achieves compliance through granular control and data anonymization at the edge.
At the edge, meaning what exactly?
Processing at the edge means the computing happens on the camera itself, rather than sending the raw video feed to a centralized server. If the goal is occupancy tracking, the AI analyzes the video to count the shapes of humans, converts that count into metadata, just raw numbers, and sends only the numbers to the dashboard.
Oh, I see. It doesn't need to identify the faces to count the bodies.
Exactly. It's just transmitting data points, not video feeds of people's identities.
But the footage still exists, doesn't it? If there's a safety incident, someone is going to pull the tape.
Yes, but many of these systems have features where faces and identifying features are automatically blurred in the live feed and the recorded video by default.
Really, just blurred out constantly.
Yep. And if a security manager needs to unblur the footage for a legitimate criminal investigation, they have to use a specific credential to unlock that clear view. And when they do, the system creates an immutable audit trail.
So it tracks the trackers.
Exactly. It logs exactly who accessed the clear footage, at what exact time, and for how long. It creates a system of accountability that prevents unauthorized snooping.
Okay, so it's security for the security system. That makes it much more palatable. But monitoring a space is only half the battle, right? If the AI sees someone it doesn't recognize or flags a behavioral anomaly, how does it actually stop that person from getting inside a restricted area? That brings us to the physical doors.
This is where the industry is seeing the most rapid innovation. According to recent locksmith industry trend reports, the standalone deadbolt is essentially obsolete in commercial settings, and it's rapidly fading in the residential market as well.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Locks are no longer isolated mechanical devices.
No, they're fully integrated nodes on a digital security network.
The examples of this hardware in the sources are wild. On the residential side, you have things like the Eufy Video Smart Lock E330. It's a single piece of hardware that combines a smart lock, a 2K high-definition camera, a doorbell, and fingerprint recognition. It basically consolidates an entire front porch security setup into one device.
It does. And in the commercial space, the hardware is significantly more robust.
Avigilon offers the Video Intercom Reader Pro. It sits right at the door like a traditional keycard reader, but it houses a built-in 5-megapixel camera and an AI-powered voice intercom system.
So let's connect the dots here. When an employee walks up to that Avigilon reader and swipes their badge or uses their phone to unlock the door, what is actually happening on the software side?
The software is executing what we call Access Control System, or ACS, integration with the Video Management System, the VMS.
ACS to VMS. When the credential is presented to the reader, the system instantly logs the access event, who opened the door, and at what time. But because the VMS is integrated, it simultaneously takes a video clip from the camera pointing at that door and permanently attaches it to the access log.
So it's matching the digital credential to the visual reality.
Exactly. If a security director is reviewing the logs the next morning, they don't just see a spreadsheet that says John Smith's card was used at the back door at 2 a.m. They see that text log, and right next to it is a hyperlink to a 5-second video clip showing exactly who was holding John Smith's card.
Which completely solves the problem of stolen credentials. If I steal your key card and use it to get into the IT room, the traditional access control system just thinks you are working late. It has no idea it's me.
Right, it's blind.
But with ACS and VMS integration, the dashboard immediately shows a mismatch. The card says it's you, but the video clearly shows it's me.
It eliminates the primary blind spot of physical security. A credential can be stolen, but the visual confirmation cannot be faked.
And this kind of seamless ecosystem is exactly what our sponsor, West Point Locksmith, builds for their commercial clients. With their 5-star digital security integration, they take your access control system and link it directly to your video management system.
Which is exactly what we're talking about.
Right. This means every single time a door is accessed, or a door is forced open, or a keycard is denied, the video is automatically logged and tagged to that event. If you need this level of elite security integration in LA, call them 247 at 310-295-4040. They are the experts at taking the physical hardware on the door and making it talk perfectly to your digital surveillance network.
That integration is critical because buying the most expensive cameras and the most expensive locks means nothing if they are operating in separate software silos. They have to communicate to be effective.
Absolutely. So we have AI analyzing the video, we have smart readers on the doors, and the two systems are actively communicating. But let's look at this from the perspective of the business owner or the facility manager. They aren't always sitting in a windowless control room on site staring at a dashboard. They might be traveling or working from home or stuck in LA traffic. How do they actually manage this infrastructure?
The administrative side of this technology has almost entirely migrated to the cloud. When you review the local case studies focusing on LA tech startups, you see a massive, aggressive shift toward cloud-based access control. Nobody wants to maintain a clunky, expensive server in a back utility closet anymore.
What does that cloud infrastructure actually allow a manager to do remotely?
It allows for complete remote administration from a smartphone or a web browser anywhere in the world. Let's say a contractor arrives at a warehouse in Los Angeles at 6 a.m., but the site manager isn't scheduled to arrive until 8 a.m.
Happens all the time.
Right. With a cloud-based system, the contractor texts the manager. The manager opens an app on their phone, views the live camera feed at the front door to verify the contractor's identity, and then remotely pulses the door lock to let them in. They can also issue temporary digital credentials that automatically expire after a few hours.
That's incredible flexibility. You are essentially carrying the entire security command center in your pocket. But I have to ask about the glaring vulnerability here. If the whole system is hosted in the cloud, and I'm unlocking doors with my smartphone, what happens when the internet goes down? If a local ISP has an outage, or the building's Wi-Fi drops, am I completely locked out of my own building?
This raises an important question, and it is the Achilles heel of purely designed cloud systems. The LA Startup Guide notes that relying solely on an internet connection introduces a massive single point of failure. If the network drops, you could be facing a critical lockout scenario where employees cannot access the building to do their jobs.
That sounds like a complete deal breaker for any serious business. How do the top-tier systems engineer around that? Are you just forced to carry a physical backup key just in case?
You don't need a physical key. Top-tier providers have engineered redundancies to keep the system functioning locally, even if the cloud connection is severed. Avigilon Alta, for example, utilizes a patented technology they call triple unlock.
Triple unlock. How does that work in practice?
When you walk up to a reader and attempt to unlock the door with your smartphone, the app doesn't just send one signal up to the cloud and wait for a response.
Yeah.
It simultaneously races three different signals: Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular data.
It races them, like a competition to see which signal reaches the lock first.
Exactly. It broadcasts the unlock command across all three pathways at the exact same millisecond. Whichever signal reaches the physical reader on the door first is the one that executes the unlock command. This guarantees a 99.9% reliability rate.
So, if the building's internet is completely down and the Wi-Fi signal fails, it doesn't matter because the Bluetooth signal from your phone communicates directly with the reader hardware locally.
Correct. The Bluetooth handshake happens locally between the device and the reader, completely bypassing the need for an active internet connection at that exact moment. And they take the user experience even further with a frictionless access method known as Wave to Unlock.
Frictionless meaning I don't even have to open the app on my phone.
You don't even have to take your phone out of your pocket or your bag. You simply walk up to the door and wave your hand near the reader.
That feels like science fiction.
It really does. The motion sensor on the reader detects your hand, instantly pings the Bluetooth on the phone in your pocket, verifies your secure credential, and unlocks the door in a fraction of a second.
No more digging around for a plastic key card while you are holding your morning coffee and a laptop. That is the perfect intersection of high-level security and ultimate end-user convenience.
It is the current gold standard for the industry. It removes the friction from security without compromising the integrity of the perimeter.
We have covered a massive amount of technical ground today. We started with machine learning models that can distinguish between a stray animal and a coordinated perimeter breach. We looked at how integration between video management and access control systems eliminates stolen credentials. And we broke down how cloud infrastructure allows you to manage an entire facility from a smartphone without falling victim to internet outages. If there is one core thesis you take away from this deep dive, let it be this. Video analytics turns passive cameras into active security tools, helping businesses not just react to crime, but prevent it before it happens.
It is a profound evolution in how we protect physical spaces. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final concept from the research to think about, because the technology is not stopping at facial recognition or digital phone credentials. The MyShift documentation outlines the emerging field of behavioral biometrics.
Behavioral biometrics. We talked about object classification, but this sounds much more granular.
It is intensely granular. Instead of scanning a static physical feature like a fingerprint or a retina, AI is now capable of analyzing your unique microbehaviors to continuously verify your identity. This includes analyzing the specific rhythm and pressure of how you type on a keyboard, or, more relevant to physical security, your specific gait.
Your gait. You mean the way you walk?
Yes, every human has a unique biomechanical signature when they walk. It's a combination of stride length, foot angle, arm swing, and posture. The machine learning models can be trained to recognize your specific gait with an incredibly high degree of accuracy.
So the camera isn't even looking at my face. It is identifying me solely by the mechanics of my stride.
Correct, which raises a fascinating question about the invisible future of security. Imagine walking into your corporate campus. You don't present a badge, you don't wave your hand, you don't even have your phone on you. The building's AI simply watches you walk from your car to the front entrance, recognizes your unique biomechanical signature, and seamlessly unlocks the doors for you as you approach.
While keeping them firmly locked for a stranger walking right behind you.
Precisely. The security becomes completely invisible.
That is genuinely wild to think about. An entire building that knows you simply by the way you move through it. I will definitely be thinking about that the next time I am walking down a long, empty office corridor. Thank you all for taking this deep dive with us today. It has been a fascinating look into the architecture of modern security. And one final reminder. For ultimate peace of mind, whether you are upgrading to biometric smart locks, integrating your CCTV with your access control, or you just need help with an emergency lockout, trust the 5-star professionals at West Point Locksmith. They serve all of Los Angeles 24/7. Give them a call at 310-295-4040. Keep learning, keep questioning the world around you, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.